Hi, 6th graders, this is Mrs. Gall. Today we're going to start our order of operations unit. Go ahead and put this title at the top of a fresh page in your notebook. Press play when you're ready to continue. When we're thinking about order of operations, that's the order that we need to solve a problem in if the problem has multiple operations. Why does that matter? Why do we have to have a specific order? Well, if I'm solving the problem in one place of the world and someone else is solving that same problem in somewhere totally different, we want to make sure that we're using the same process so that we can get the same answer. If you solve problems in different orders, you could get different answers. So we have what we call order of operations to help us all get to the same answer. So this is our system of, the order of operations provides a system for evaluating numerical expressions. Without it, an expression could evaluate to several different numbers. That's just a fancier way of stating what we just talked about. An expression, a problem could evaluate, you could get many different answers if you solve it in different orders. So we use our order of operations to evaluate an expression so we all get the same answer. Go ahead and write this down, and I know this looks a little funky. We call this Pemdas, and we have M and D sharing a space for a reason, and then we have A and S sharing a space for a reason. So go ahead and stack them just like ours are, and we'll talk a little bit about why they're stacked here in a second. Okay, so PEMDAS, the P stands for parentheses or other grouping symbols. That's always going to be our starting point, is looking for parentheses in a problem. Do you remember what E stands for? Exponents. Those are those tiny raised numbers, and we'll talk about that in future lessons as well, what those are, what they look like, and how we evaluate them. Next, we look for the M and the D step, and the reason they're sharing a space is because multiplication and division, one is not more important than the other. They share the same level of importance. So if we have both of those in a problem, we solve them from left to right. That's why there's this arrow here. That means whichever one shows up first in the problem is the one that you solve first. So if division shows up first, you do division. If multiplication shows up first, you do multiplication first. Same thing with our very last step, which is addition and subtraction. One is not more important than the other. You're not always going to add first. You're not always going to subtract first. It's whichever one shows up first in the problem if you're solving from left to right. Go ahead and make sure you have all of those steps written out, and you add those arrows on multiply, divide, add, subtract, so you'll remember it's not it's not that one is more important. It's whichever one shows up first when you get to that step. When you're ready to continue, press play. A little bit of vocabulary for you. Earlier we talked about a numerical expression. That is a just mathematical statement involving numbers and operations. So 2 plus 2, that has numbers, and an operation, that is a numerical expression. They can also get much longer and more complex than that, which we're going to see today. They'll start getting a little bit longer. Go ahead and write that down. Press pause if you need more time. Evaluate. It just determines what an expression is worth. Okay, so we're going to kind of evaluate our expressions today. We're just going through and kind of solving the different pieces that we see within our expression. That's called evaluating. Make sure you have both of those definitions down. Press pause if you need more time. All right, you guys, let's go through and actually solve. Today we're going to focus on the MDAS, so multiplication and division, and addition and subtraction. We're going to build up to exponents and parentheses, but today we're going to start with our last two steps. Write this expression down in your notebook. 14 plus 2 times 5 minus 3. We do not just go ahead and solve from left to right. I'm going to stack here my reminder. My multiplication and division are going to come before addition and subtraction. So let's go ahead and see what we have in our expression here. I have addition, multiplication, and subtraction. If I go over to my list here, multiplication and division need to come before addition and subtraction. So I have right here multiplication. That is my starting point in the problem. 2 times 5 is what I have to do first. That gives me 10. I highly suggest writing out these problems just like I am, underlining the part that you need to solve first, and then bringing down the answer for that part and the rest of your problem. Now we're going to look at what other operations we have left. We have addition and subtraction. When I look at my last step, addition and subtraction, I know that I need to travel from left to right. One is not more important than the other. So which one shows up first if I'm at the left? Addition. So that's what I do first. 14 plus 10 is 24. Put that answer below, and then I bring down my last step, which is subtracting 3. There's nothing left in my problem except for this subtraction, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract 24 minus 3 to get 21. That is our expression after we've evaluated, 21. Notice I did not just go from left to right for the whole problem. I did not do 14 plus 2 and then times that by 5 and then subtract 3. That would have gotten a completely different answer, and that would have been incorrect. I have to follow my order of operations, starting with that multiplication because it was our step that comes before addition and subtraction. If you need more time, pause that because I'm going to erase this slide. Let's go on to our next problem. 18 plus 6 times 3 divided by 9. Okay, I'm going to write out our steps just as a friendly reminder here. I'm not including the P and the E because we are not focused on those right now. We're just going to focus on the very last 2 steps. All right, so let's look. We need to start by looking for any multiplication and division because those are going to come before addition and subtraction. I see both in this problem, multiplication and division. Which one do we do first? Whichever one shows up first. What shows up first in the problem if we're looking from left to right? The multiplication. So I'm going to underline that step. 6 times 3, I get 18. So I bring that down, and then I bring down the rest of the problem that I have not used yet. So I didn't use this 18 plus at the start of my problem, and I haven't used this divided by 9 at the end of my problem. Now I have addition and division. Which one comes first? Well, multiplication and division come before addition and subtraction. So I need to take care of that division before I go back to add. 18 divided by 9 is that step. That is 2. So I'm going to underline, put the answer below. Now I'm going to bring down the last step of my problem, which is 18 plus my answer, which was 2. I have nothing left to do except for that addition. 18 plus 2 is 20. That is my evaluated answer for this problem. All right, you guys, maybe you feel okay to try a few on your own. If so, that's great. I'm going to go ahead and release it. You can press pause and then play if you want to hear the answer. If you're still feeling like you need some teacher's guidance, you can listen as I walk through it. Before you try it on your own, do you remember what a dot means? It means to multiply. So that's going to be an important symbol that you need to know. Pause if you want to try it on your own. Otherwise, let's go ahead and walk through it. I see division, addition, and multiplication. So I need to take care of my division and multiplication first. Which one do I do first? Whichever one shows up first, which was my division. 24 divided by 4 is 6. Bring down the rest of my problem. Plus 7 times 10. Do I add or multiply next? Multiply, because we have to take care of this step, everything in this step before we can move to that last step. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply 7 times 10 to get 70. And then bring down that first piece, 6 plus 70. That is my answer, 76. All right, I think I have one more on this slide. Let me erase and let's look at this last one. You can do the same thing. You can pause and try it on your own, or you can wait for me to walk through it if you're needing more guidance. Yeah, last one. Okay, here we go. 12 minus 5 plus 8 times 9. Pause if you want to try it on your own. Otherwise, let's walk through it. Subtraction, addition, and multiplication. Multiplication should come first. 8 times 9 is 72. Bring down the rest of your problem. 12 minus 5 plus that 72. I now have subtraction and addition. Which one comes first? Whichever one shows up first, because we move from left to right if that's all we have left. 12 minus 5 shows up first. That gives me 7. Last thing we do is 7 plus 72 to get our answer, 79. All right, you guys, that's all I have today for MDAS. We're going to add in exponents in your next lesson. Check in with your teacher if you have any questions.